You are listening to the Delay and Pray podcast, episode number 157.
Welcome to the Delay and Pray podcast, where certified Catholic and weight loss coach Beth Bubick teaches you how to permanently lose weight through spiritual fasting. Get ready to gain faith and lose weight through a joyful transformation of both body and soul. Now, your host, Beth, the Catholic fasting coach.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today, I am honored to share a powerful story of faith, surrender, and transformation with one of my best clients, Lisa Thibodeaux. Lisa is a wife of 31 years, mother of two, proud Mimi to her grandson Bennett, and a devoted Catholic business owner from Connecticut. She has worked in her family's business called D-Tech Service since 1995, a business founded in 1979. In 2022, Lisa and two longtime employees took a leap of faith and purchased the company, continuing its legacy of excellence while striving to lead with integrity, compassion, and a deep commitment to faith. As Chief Financial and Resources Officer, Lisa manages both the financial and human sides of the business with a mission of treating every employee like family and bringing Christ into her leadership each day. No easy task there, I can tell you that, as owning my own business here. Well, her journey with Delay and Pray began after hearing about the program on Seize the Day with Gus Lloyd on the Catholic Channel. And since that moment, she says her life has been transformed. Through spiritual fasting, Lisa has lost weight, gained health, and most importantly, found freedom in surrendering her life to Jesus one decision at a time. She's learning to let go of control, to lean into trusting her husband's leadership and offering up sugar, flour, and alcohol as a spiritual sacrifice, all as part of her Eat, Fast, Feast new lifestyle that we're all trying to live. She admits sometimes she's good at this and sometimes she's not. But it doesn't matter because in the end, what she's discovered is profound. When she depends on Jesus to lead, everything changes: her body, her heart, her marriage, and her peace. And you're going to love her story today. She's a faithful member of the Keep Fasting alumni membership, where she shows up for coaching and community with consistency and grace. And her story is really one of transformation in many areas of her life. Daily surrender, you guys, that's what it's about. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And she is a reminder that healing happens when we allow God really to do the heavy lifting. All right. Welcome to the podcast, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Beth. I am really honored to be here. I was surprised at the invitation just because I'm just a regular person.
Well, I'm just a regular person.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all just regular people trying to get to heaven. And really, that's what we're trying to do, Lisa. And we talk about it all the time, but we're all just regular people. And it's a blessing to understand the suffering, especially through delaying food and alcohol. It's a special kind of suffering that we endure, and it's called spiritual fasting, and it's as old as the ages, right? Before Jesus Christ. And so we're just trying to bring back this lost art, and it does transform. So can't wait to hear your story. Can't wait for you to just tell the world a little about yourself and, you know, your version, your perspective, especially as being a business owner and a very busy woman, like we all are. But I mean, you do have some special things going on in your life. And so it'll be interesting to just kind of hear your perspective on it all. So you are really deeply rooted in faith and family. So share a little bit about your background and how your Catholic faith has really shaped who you are as a wife and mom and a grandma. Tell us a little about that.
Sure. So I did grow up Catholic. My parents, we did all of the Catholic things. We did CCD, we did church every Sunday. We were kind of the average Catholic family. You know, there was no rosaries at home or, you know, anything outside of, I guess, the average. So that being said, when I met the person who I eventually married, and I found out he was Catholic, it was a little bit of a relief to say, like, okay, that's not even going to be a topic of concern for us. And so that was kind of a nice thing as well. I am the youngest of four. I have three older brothers. And my parents, throughout all of those years of bringing us to church, they continued, and I had that little bit of a lower interest while I was in college, but I did go to a Catholic college. So I think it kind of still kept me tied in, and then got married right after college and continued to work on it and to put the effort in to at least be an average Catholic. And then, growing up, I mean, I got married right after I turned 22. So I was still kind of growing up and raising our children, our two young kids, and making sure that they also were introduced to our Catholic faith, going to church every Sunday. We really did remain active. I remained active, in particular as a CCD teacher, and, trying to really nourish that in our family. And then, the way families go, my siblings have kind of fallen away from the full practice of their Catholic faith, but my parents were always pretty active. Recently lost my mom, and that, I will say, has been a really interesting journey in terms of faith. And I think that then, everything, God's timing on everything. I wouldn't trade any of it in. I am very grateful for that journey that I've been on. I ended up joining a Bible study group I think this is our 4th year together at our parish. And that has also had an immense impact on my life. So I think, watching my parents aging, seeing what they were going through, seeing my kids growing up, getting married, all of these things really, first of all, it's all out of our control. So you got to rely on something because we can't rely on ourselves. I should say, if I had tried to rely on myself through any of these things, I think I'd be a mush puddle on the floor, or whatever you want to call it. But I would not be where I am in and it's not perfect, but a peace-filled place with all of those things without God. I think that's kind of the history of my journey.
Well, it's interesting because even as an average Catholic, you still have that Catholic candle of grace just burning within you. At least it's burning pretty bright. And then you add being a CCD teacher, you add Bible study, which we talk about all the time. Beyond the sacraments, Bible study is very important because that Word of God is truly Jesus. He is the Word of God. I mean, He is it. And it's living and active, sharper than a two-edged sword, and if we can bring to light in our thoughts the scripture a lot, and as Catholics, we're not used to doing that all the time. It's unfortunate, but, so conversing through scripture with Jesus all the time throughout the day, it's very helpful. And He changes things then. He changes things. So how did delay and pray or spiritual fasting help you with the death of your mom?
Oh gosh. So having started in January of 2025 with delay and pray, I'm very grateful that I started so early in the year because my mother was diagnosed with metastasized melanoma in her lung in February, and then started treatments in, I think it was April, May, June. That didn't work. And I kind of feel like having started in January, it was, when you start training for anything, any big event. I'm a former college athlete, so everything kind of comes back to sports and teams and training. I needed that training of learning how to spiritually fast, of learning how to physically fast, having, the history. I've worked with a nutritionist in the past, so I know I've had many years of experience of the right foods to eat, but there was still some component missing. So the fasting component was certainly missing and the spiritual component was missing. Putting those together and having those months of training for me, in the last month, she was hospitalized or in a rehab center for the month of September, really, the entire month. That meant and you mentioned my busy schedule as a business owner, that meant for a busier schedule. I wanted to be able to visit my mother. I wanted to be able to support my father, support my brothers, my kids, my husband, and myself, I suppose, through this time frame. And oftentimes what that meant was, and whether this is kind of the correct approach or not, I'm not really sure, but it is what happened. Sometimes the sacrifice was not eating. Where's the time there was planning to some extent. And I think a little factor that plays into some of this in such an odd way is that I had lost my taste in August, the end of August, through until after my mom passed. And that made for a whole different perspective on food or really anything, any liquids, any foods. And I didn't really want to eat a lot anyway because I couldn't taste it. I couldn't enjoy it. So these kind of things all building upon each other led me to be able to spend that time with my mom without concern of I'm hungry, because doing that fasting to that extent for that length of time, cutting down on the foods because I just didn't enjoy them at the moment, food became just a source of energy. That was it. There was no real enjoyment. And I know that sounds terrible, but it was what it was. But it then allowed me not to even have that as a concern in my brain. Like that wasn't it. My mind was not focused on it at all. I was focused on my mom. I was focused on my dad. I was focused on my family. But I also had to focus on my business a bit too, because life goes on amongst, everyone else here, even though this was the business they started. So there's a lot of people here at work that were close with my parents and are still with my dad. We definitely looked at my mom as their second mom. There was a lot of that because of it being a family business. So I will say in preparation for that and getting through that time with my mom and her struggles and her suffering and wanting to unite my suffering to hers so that we could offer it to Jesus. Oh man, that was something. I believe it allowed me to be more present, especially in the final 30 hours or so of her life. It was beautiful. It allowed me, all of the Bible study, all of the, learning through delay and pray, not just about the delaying, but the praying. I think that's a part of the program that, gosh, it was so not unexpected because it's in the name, but I didn't realize how much I needed that part.
Yeah. That's so beautiful because what happened is, I know losing your taste is a terrible thing, actually. I know people out there probably think, oh gosh, that would be a great thing because then I wouldn't eat and then I would lose my weight and blah, 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 But no. Food is very integral to our lives. That's why the Lord comes in, bread and wine. I mean, because it sustains us. And if the pleasure of food or the taste of food wasn't important, then we'd just be eating plain salads with sardines on top. Like, okay. Like, who cares? We don't care what it tastes like, but we care. We care what it tastes like. So how interesting that you lost your taste for this period of time, which actually enabled you to create space within yourself to be filled with the Holy Spirit so that you could actually be really more attentive to the death of your mom and fill that with prayer. And we talk about that a lot, but I know it was difficult for you because we coached on it quite a bit, but at the same time, what a gift for just that moment, because your taste did come back. Tell that story.
Oh gosh. Well, I don't know that I handled it all very well, but I had the tools to recover from the recovery, right? So it was, it was maybe just a week. It was the week of her funeral, which was 2 weeks after her death. So it was mid-October. And I think we went out to dinner. I don't remember where it was when I realized, oh my gosh, I can actually taste this food more than I was able to in the last, 6 weeks. Yeah, losing taste for a couple weeks, not a big deal. I had done that, in 2021 after COVID, all that. This was different. This starts to kind of mess with your mind and all that. But so getting it back, I was praying for it to come back. And I know I had told the story, so it's a repeat to you, but for everyone else, it's not. The morning after my mother passed, it was about 6:00 in the morning, letting my dogs out after their morning breakfast. And I stood on the porch of my house watching a beautiful sunset. And I said, okay, Mom, you're my intercessor now. Do you mind asking if you've got the opportunity? Do you mind asking if I can have my taste back? And, I did it in jest in a way, but it was great to ask to just kind of connect. And I do feel like she's still here. Like there is this, and I know I'll go through, whatever grieving process I'm going to go through is what I'll go through. But I just felt like in the morning, I was like, okay, that's it. You're there, and whether she's in purgatory, whether she's in heaven, who knows that part, but I know she's beyond, right? She's not here. So I figured I'm just going to ask. So I did. And then I still continued to pray. I also did some things that, I took, some extra supplements and those things. So within that week after her funeral, which again was 2 weeks after her death, I started to get it back. And I thought, oh, this is fantastic. I've got my taste back. And then I wanted to eat everything that I tried and didn't taste right, or didn't tasted like crackers, tasted like cardboard. Potato chips tasted like nothing. Sweets didn't taste like anything. So I lost sweet and savory for whatever reason. So I was just, okay, I got to try it. And then I thought, oh, this is so good. I can't stop. And I brought that to coaching because I thought, oh my gosh, here I was. I needed to be coached on the loss of it. Now I need to be coached on the regaining of it, because I felt like I was out of control. And I think I was out of control because I lost my process. I lost the delay and pray process because it came almost automatically through the month of September. I really think I didn't have to put so much effort into it. I will say I missed a bunch of calls because of the schedule and the visits to the hospital and everything. So I did miss some calls and meetings. So getting into October, it comes back and I'm just like, and I just didn't know how to handle the entire recovery. I guess I don't really know what to call it, recovery. And
well, when you recovered your taste buds, when you could taste again, I'm thinking your subconscious thoughts, your thoughts were somewhere around, and we coached on this, this is so delicious. I want more, more, more. You literally had these thoughts. I want to overeat this. Like, I want to. A lot of times we will coach on these thoughts. I want to, or I don't want to. I don't want to stop. I want to eat it. And it was because, you had regained your taste and you forgot what it tastes like. And it was, it's delicious. Food is delicious. And so how long did it take you until you could rein that in? Because we did coach on that. And yesterday. Yeah, we just coached on that this week, I think.
And I do feel like, so I am definitely not perfect at this process. And thank you so much, Beth, for explaining that we do not have to be perfect. With my nutritionist, and I was talking to one of my best friends about this last night at Bible study because she just brought up fasting. And I said, hey, I ordered a couple extra books for Delay and Pray. I will absolutely be giving you one. So just a little aside. But I think I reined it in right at the beginning. And then Halloween hit. And I just struggle with this time of year because I love sugar. It just tastes good to me. I am sure there's, the psychological part of that.
That thought right there, Lisa, I love sugar. What do you think of that thought? Honestly, tell me if you say I love sugar, what's going in your results?
I am just going to eat a lot of it, right? And it's funny because when I say it out loud, I'm like, I don't actually really love sugar.
No.
I don't.
You don't.
I don't know what that's about.
You don't. You know what? You don't really love sugar. You just love the taste of sugar.
Right.
Who doesn't?
Right.
Okay, that's a different thought. I love the taste of sugar. Okay. I love the taste of sugar too, but I know that sugar really hurts me in large quantities. And when we coached, you said that you basically had a sugar hangover, sugar and flour that you reached. Let's see, we coached on Wednesday. And so you just reached a point where you were like, my gosh, I got up and I had headaches and I had body aches. And for me, my arthritis flares up. I mean, it's just like all these things. And you're like, why did I do that to myself? So who doesn't love the taste of sugar in whatever your particular form it is? It could be a donut, it could be a gummy, like whatever it is, right? But it's just not great for us.
Oh, absolutely. And I am happy to say that I currently do not have a headache. We're now 4 days away from the weekend. But yeah, I know, and I've known this from, working with a nutritionist prior, that sugar is a highly inflammatory food for me.
Oh, for everyone.
True.
But for some than others, though. Some who have, gut problems or are predisposed to diabetes, like any type of, genetic type of malady or something, it's more harmful for some than others. But, in its essence, it's really small amounts, rarely.
Right. And I think I do have an allergy to corn. And corn syrup obviously is used for so many different products to sweeten them. And, I should never say when I start to just grab those things, I don't know what the ingredients are. So it could be, if it's a, really highly processed food, most likely there's going to be some form of
high fructose corn syrup is in probably all the Halloween candy.
No, so it's not even just having, organic cane sugar or something that is more tolerable to me. It was really going off, I don't want to say the deep end, but making the worst choice, right? Of all the choices, good, better, best, this was absolutely like worst, right? Those are the things, those cause all that inflammation in me. And so for those few days, it wasn't just the sugar detox. I mean, it was, but there's other ingredients in there that bother me. And I just said, I need to stop. I can't do it alone. I need to pray. And you helped me realize yesterday, those steps that I need to take when I am going to go into, the grocery store or have those moments of, this is what I want, when really, I don't really want it. Because I know how it makes me feel, and it's lousy, and I don't want to feel lousy. I can do more things when I don't feel lousy. I can do more things for my family, for myself, for my company. I can do more things for God. I can be his hands and feet. I can speak more clearly. Like, there's so many things that it ruins that I don't want it.
That's right.
I do not.
But it's just the initial craving, and that's where you get that dopamine dip, where you feel terrible because your dopamine goes down because it's like, you got to have it. And how do you make the dopamine go back up? You just decide to have it. What's funny about that is if you can get over that decision to have it and get to, I'm not going to have it. And I showed you the Post-it note that I had on my coffee maker, and it says, it's been there for a long time, but it sort of gets lost, and I found it a couple weeks ago. And it says, you think you want the half and half today, Beth. But when you have it in your coffee, you don't really need it. Like, it's a nice to have. And in fact, it makes I'd rather have black coffee now than cream. It's just half and half. I do have half and half when I travel. I do, like, it's my cheat on like feast days and fun days, because it doesn't really affect my spiritual fasting. It doesn't, I can still go for hours without eating, but I definitely do not have it on Wednesdays and Fridays. Okay. So the thing is that little Post-it note, reading it day after day after day and just having it there, now I'm like, okay, you really don't need the alcohol, Beth, because when you have it, it's not as good as you thought it would be. Or you really don't need the donut, Beth, because when you have it, it's not as good as you thought it would be. So if I can have that gentle, literal, physical reminder, then it helps me get through just that small dopamine dip that is making us make the wrong decision. It's just, yeah. And then, of course, the prayer to the guardian angel, obtain the graces for me to offer up that half and half for my husband, for my daughter, for Lisa, for my mother, like whoever it is. Yeah. And it's these gentle physical reminders, but we really do have to have those. We're human. We have to write them down. We have to have them somewhere.
Absolutely. And I do have my little pocket rosary in my pocket today that we talked about. And because I do need that physical reminder, I need something. I mean, it's funny looking at, I can see myself here and looking at my cross. I don't see that every day because I'm not constantly looking at myself on a screen or in a mirror. So I need something else. I do often feel it, and I might fiddle with it a little bit. But
that's a good idea. I don't normally do that. Oh,
that's a good idea. Jesus is there, right? Like I feel it, but I did need something else because this is kind of more of just part of my everyday now. So I needed something a little bit new and different. And so I do have that in my pocket. But yeah, having that physical reminder is really important. And I did go to the store last night to get dinner. I was in between work, went to work, mass, and then Bible study. And in between, I thought I hadn't eaten all day. It was a fasting day, but I needed something. I needed to make sure that I had some more nourishment because I was leading the Bible study and I wasn't I needed to be able to focus and be clear. So I grabbed just a little garden salad and I walked around the store thinking, what else can I grab? What else can I grab? What's going to be? No. Why am I looking for something else? I have what I need. This is all I need. I went to the register and I paid and I left and I said, that's it. And it's not a moment that I share for like the pat on the back, great job. It worked. Thinking about what I need and what I didn't need and actually thinking versus just going with feelings or, urges. It worked. That's all I need to do is to think. And we talked about commitment and I committed and I said, okay, here I am. This is what I need to do. I had just gone to mass, so I felt slightly more empowered because I had the Eucharist. I'm like, that's all I really need, but I do need to be clear. I do need some more nutrition. So this is what I'm going to do. And I did have a plan going into the store, which was good. I got a little sidetracked walking around and then I realized, no, I just don't need it. So
yeah, that Eucharist helped you have a sacred pause. So that's another thing too, is having the physical reminder and then just taking a sacred pause to think for a second, like, okay, Jesus, do I really need this? And then listening. And it takes a while to understand that because a lot of times you might not even say that, or you'll say it and you'll just keep going and do the thing, right? And that's okay too, because you're learning. You're just learning how to summon your guardian angel, how to collaborate with Jesus on every decision. We're learning as Catholics how to do this. Some people, I guess, do it really well. I've had to learn over the years and I'm still not great at it. I'm just learning every single day to bring him into every decision. And he makes it a lot easier. It's just that we just forget. He's gold and we forget that he's gold.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I wake up every morning with all the intentions of doing it just right, just for him, glorify God, all these things in every single decision I make. And then, mid-morning, I'm like, well, what do I want to do? I want to do it for me. And I do want to reiterate that there is something really special about the way you coach and the realness of what you do and what you share and not asking for perfection because we can't be perfect. Oh my gosh, not in anything, right? Like I am not a perfect wife. I am not a perfect mother. I am certainly not a perfect Mimi because I'm so new at that one. I am not a perfect business owner, not perfect anything. I'm not a perfect daughter. I'm not a perfect sister, nothing. And it's not giving permission to be imperfect. It's giving that grace to myself that when I am not, and I've really never had thoughts like this before Delay and Pray. I was always aiming for perfection. I got to do it exactly like that coach showed me to do. That is how it's supposed to be done. That's how I need to do it. And if I'm not doing it that way, it's wrong. I mean, I wasn't ever punished for that stuff, but I think that's just the perfectionism in me of wanting to be the best. I'm also the youngest child, so probably trying to be the best was something that I was always trying to do so that I was noticed, or I'm the only girl. So maybe it was those things. I don't know. But what I've learned in the past 11 months, 10 months is that, oh gosh, Nuke Tapey, right? We're not going to be perfect.
No, we're not.
Begin again. Yeah.
In fact, we are being perfected by Jesus Christ. So we're in the state of being perfected, which means we're going to do things and say things that aren't perfect. And we're learning. We're always learning until we become that saint by the end. But it's a beautiful thing. And so it takes a lot of humility and it takes a lot of grace to be perfected, to understand that you've got to call God in to all your decisions in order to, try to be perfected. But in the meantime, I'm wearing a miraculous medal, you're wearing a cross, it doesn't mean I'm perfect when I'm wearing this thing around, It's a symbol of my faith towards the one true faith, the Catholic faith. But at the same time, I am a fallen human being. And so I'm in the state of perfection, which is I go to confession, I go to mass, I try to do the sacraments as often as possible, get in the Bible study, do all the things, try to be the best that I can be. And then thing is, if I can accept myself that way, then I can accept others so much more readily, right? It's a lot easier. So tell me about being a leader at a company. How has Delay and Pray helped you, run a business?
So my two partners, and like I said, it was my parents' business. So I've kind of grown up here and they always led with a Christian outlook or a Catholic outlook, but not overtly because it was business. And I think it was just a different time.
So more like a family. So like a family type of...
Right. And certainly one of my partners I've known since I was 7 years old. He was originally one of my oldest brother's friends, who still is. And then the other partner has also been here for about 30 years. So I've known him quite a while too. They're a little bit older than me. So, I tease them a little bit on that. But we all are Christian, whether they're practicing Catholic or not. We really don't even get into those conversations. But we here do not shy away from those conversations if an employee wants to have that conversation. If I meet with an employee who's struggling and there is a window that's opened, I will jump right through that window and I will offer my thoughts in terms of how faith could help. I am careful about it, obviously, but once that conversation is opened, they're very receptive. So, the principles we have here as a company, it is integrity, it's honesty, it's a lot of the things that fall in line with my Catholic values. We are having some successful years right now, which is fantastic. It makes business life a lot easier. It was difficult at times over the past 30 years. We had our ups and downs, but in those times, I think we still maintained those values. It wasn't always easy though.
No, it's not. I have often had this thought. This is so funny. So I have a really good friend, Sister Dee Dee Byrne, and I've traveled with her and, she's obviously always in her habit and her sister garb, right? And it's very hard to be mean to her or say a negative comment. Okay. So I always just want to love her. Like, I don't care what she does. Well, she never does anything wrong, but it's like, she's just so amazing and so beautiful. And I love everything she is. And I think her holiness just emanates out of her. But I was wondering if we just treated every single person that we work with, or that especially that works for us, as like Sister Dee Dee, and they were dressed in the habit, in the beautiful dress that the particular nun is wearing. I wondered if we would be nicer and more calm and more sweet and more loving and actually ask, can I help you? So what is happening? What's wrong? Or you know what I mean? I was thinking about that the other day when I was going through something with my team, and I think I'd be nicer. I think I'm going to take that little nugget and just kind of think about that. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that. So I'm in a very male-dominated business. We have 38 employees and 35 are men.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the story of my life, growing up with just brother. So, no big deal. It's comfortable to me. It's fine.
Okay, so you could turn it around and let's say they're priests. Let's just say they come in and they have a collar on. And I think we'd approach it like I'm going to meet their level of holiness almost, And we don't really know what's going on in their lives. We don't, And so, wow, how would we approach the conversation differently? Isn't that interesting to think?
Yeah. I don't want this to come across as if I think I've got it all, again, perfect, or that I've reached this level of emotional quotient or, whatever it is that I can approach everyone in that way. But I do tend to here.
Oh, that is awesome. That's
because of the family business aspect and always wanting to maintain that feel. Anytime we've ever interviewed somebody or really hired them, once they get hired, we sit down, we have the conversation, and it's, hey, look, I want you to know that family comes first, period. You guys are our family. You come first. You have a family. They will come first. And if you need something, if you need our help, everybody's going through something. I just had a meeting with a new employee and I don't know anything about his history because to me, it doesn't matter, right? We hire people that are qualified and that's it. Whatever their history is, I don't care if they've been in prison. I don't care. If they're here and they want to work and they want to start, making a better life for themselves, that's what we care about. So if they want to share that information at some point in some kind of conversation, that's great. But I always do explain, I've had this conversation multiple times over the past few years. We are here to help you, not only as your employers, but we're your friends, and that can be a fine line sometimes because I do also have other family members here. My brother-in-law, my nephew, my husband works for me. My brother.
Dear. I remember that now.
Brother is still an employee here, but I'm an owner. So there can be some complicated relationships there, but they're really not because ultimately it's family, and all of them are. And I want people to see that we are here to help. Have we gotten burnt because of that as a business? Yes. Does that burn hurt more than any of the times we've helped? Absolutely not. I would get burned over and over if I knew I could help someone else.
You know what's interesting? Everything you're saying, you've been in this family type of business that's been working so well for 30 years. Obviously, it's a good business if it's been going for 30 years and it's profitable. So this is kind of all you know.
I mean, yes, to a certain extent. Yes, I have a little job, but yeah.
Right. But see, the thing is, like, I've been in and out of corporate America. Some was good, but it's not a family. It's not a family.
I've gotten that feedback from employees too, who are just kind of blown away. And again, I don't say any of this to pat ourselves on the back. And we are not a perfect company.
No, but kudos maybe to your parents, Lisa. Kudos to your parents for actually creating something so beautiful. And I will I'm going to learn from you and take a lot of those values, to my own business. I have contractors, but I mean, but it's still, it can get tough sometimes when the rubber meets the road, right? But what you're saying is family comes first and love comes first. And I think that's a beautiful way to run a business. Well, speaking of husbands, all right, we often talk about, the coaching group is just women. And there's reasons for that. And we often talk about conversion for husbands because it's conversion of children and husbands is what a lot of the women, if not all of them, are praying for, whether their husbands are living or have gone on to purgatory or heaven. So we talk about this quite a bit is praying and fasting for our husbands. We also talk about trying not to be so controlling as well as we kind of come into like a new church and just a new way of feminism, right? A new way of a Marian type of feminism that's letting our husbands lead. And it's not easy. We talk about this a lot. And I think you specifically have also talked about it and how kind of refreshing it is. A little scary, but it's a little refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah. I love my husband, right? We've been together since I was 18 when we first met. And he, to me, and our marriage, I think, and I've thought of this many times, and I hope and pray that I've actually said this out loud to him. There's a chance I may not have, but to me, his love for me, his love for us and our family is very much like Jesus. He would sacrifice himself over and over and over again for us and for me. And even when I'm not the best wife or the best friend or partner to him, even when I get wrapped up, and I will say that I'm kind of thinking back on years ago, but get wrapped up in my own things, my own life, my own thoughts, my own activities. It didn't matter to him. He would just love me anyway. And that realization came just a few years ago. I don't even really remember exactly why, but it was just one of those moments. Maybe it was gospel reading. There was something that I went, oh, yeah, that's how my husband loves me. I hope that I love him that way too. I think I do, but sometimes actions in the past would say, do you really? Of course I love him. Do I love him to that level? Gosh, I do now. And I would say that I would absolutely 100% sacrifice myself for anything he needed. And that's, again, not a perfect marriage. It's just not, because we're not perfect people. But that all comes with that release of control. Okay, as a kind of type A person, business owner, I've always, even when I've been involved in sports, I ultimately, I was the captain. So I was the leader. I was, in college and post-college athletics, the captain, the leader. So my family, well, yeah, I'm the leader. I'm the one who makes the kids' schedules. I'm the one who drives them to things. Not that he didn't do those things with us, but he wasn't the initiator. And so I think there was years of just, that's how it was. And that's where we chose to live. I wanted our family in this neighborhood. I wanted our family in this town because this is the good school. These are these things. And as life has changed, especially with our last move, which we had been in one home for 17 years and we moved over the summer into a new town and a new home, I wanted that to be his decision. I was ready to go wherever he wanted, whatever he wanted to do. I wanted it to be him leading us there. And he did. And I'm grateful for that because I can see how happy he is and how happy we are. And then in terms of faith, like, yeah, I've been the initiator. I've been the instigator. I've been okay, it's time to go. Let's go. We got to go to mass, but over the last few years, and I hope some of this is just, maybe it's the green scapular, maybe.
Yeah, if you put a blessed green scapular under the side of their bed, it helps with conversion. I forget which saint that is.
So it could be
good
that.
tip.
But he is definitely much more active. Is he in the same part of his journey that I'm in now? No. And that's okay.
But he's coming along. Religion is not linear.
Right. And
it isn't, right.
And I also saw it with my dad. And that was something we talked about in a coaching session. And, one of our wishes is for our grandson to be baptized. And as my mother was sick and getting worse and then passing away, my father has taken charge as the head of our family, in our extended family, and has said, talk to our daughter and, invited her to church. She came with us last weekend. We all were together for the Mass of Remembrance for All Souls Day. The grandson came with us. And so he is really stepped up in that. And I'm so grateful for that. And my husband is certainly, and I don't want to say coming along like it's a project. It's not that. I can see the differences. I can see that.
Well, you're praying and fasting for these men. And we try to pray and fast for all men, especially on Fridays. And this is what we're doing. We're just all good men. And then the other thing is we do talk about, and I know we're going to wrap this up here, but, when we're asking our husbands for their advice, and I mean, literally having a habit of asking them, what should I do you think? And actually taking it.
Yes. Yes.
Not just like, what do you think? And like, oh, okay, I'm going to do my own thing anyway. Okay, thanks. It's more like, okay, and having these really thoughtful discussions and really praying over it and discerning and following his lead. It is this release of control. And I'm telling you, when you release the control, you'll find yourself not as hungry. You don't need as much sugar, flour, and alcohol. You don't need to numb as much because, you're really following the path of Mary. And she was always, ceding to Saint Joseph, even though she had so much more power. And I'm saying this from The Mystical City of God, that book that I just love and tout all the time and delay and pray. But if you read that book, especially now in this holiday season, happy birthday, by the way, Lisa, it's your birthday today. This just popped into my head, and read that book in this holiday season because it's profound and it'll just help you understand that the spiritual realm is so real. It's private revelation. You do not have to believe it, but I believe every single word because it helps my faith. And I love it that you were born today. I love it that you're here. You have been such a wonderful contributor to the group, always peppy and fun. And I know you're busy and you show up and people will be like walking into your office and you're like, hold on a second. Hold on.
I try.
Just sit over there for a minute because I'm getting coached.
I try so hard not to. We have an open door policy, right? Like people will just walk in and it's fine. And sometimes they peek over because there's a monitor behind this laptop, right? There's a monitor and they can't really see me until they step all the way in. They can see I'm here, but they can't see my face. And so I peek around and I'm like, it's okay. And then, I might turn go to mute and, turn the video off and try to address because I don't want to put people off.
Right. But you know what else you're showing them? You're showing them that, you're just coaching. Coaching is in between like therapy and spiritual direction. And I have coaches, so sorry, but it makes me a better person. And it's great to show people like everybody needs a coach. I mean, like just go get a Catholic coach just to like review your thoughts with you so that you can be like, oh my gosh, I'm really thinking that. I did not know that I was thinking that because that is not serving me, not at all. It's a very interesting thing.
It is fun. And I love being on the calls. And if somebody overhears me, obviously it's nothing bad. So it's fine. If they want to sit and listen, they can sit and listen. But generally they're like, oh, we just don't want to interrupt. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's fine. And I deal with what I have to deal with. And then I, pop back on.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for your honesty and your heart and your faithful witness to Delay and Pray and to Jesus. I mean, it's just wonderful. And your story is such a beautiful reminder that transformation is really not about perfection. Honestly, it's releasing the control and just letting Jesus Christ perfect you in the way that he wants to do it. And then having that perseverance and that surrender and that trust that he's going to do it. Your grandson is on the way to baptism. Like, I believe that, and you believe it too. It's just that it's, 2 Peter 3:9, God does not delay. It's in his time. And we can't control it or be angry or anything. We let life play out, right? So spiritual fasting, you guys, is forever. It's about saint making. It's not about weight loss really in the end, but also weight loss is important. So it's okay if you think it's important, because we do like to be smaller. It's very nice to be, I'll be honest, it's very nice to be a size 4, a size 6. It's just when I used to be like 14, 16, which actually some people are trying to get to 14, 16. So I'm not degrading that. That's not degrading that at all. Whatever your smaller is, it's important to me. The spiritual fasting, though, is what gets me there and helps me stay there while being Christ-centered. So we're just honored to have you as an integral part of the KFAM community. So it's super, super fun. So friends, if you'd like to learn more about Lisa's business, you can visit dtechservice.com, and I'll have it in the show notes, or connect with her on Instagram, and I'll have that on the show notes as well. And if your story has touched your heart, then go to thecatholicfastingcoach.com to learn more about this group coaching program that she's in. We've kind of drawn it in a little bit. So it's a little shorter, it's a little cheaper, where fasting and prayer come together to really transform your body, mind, and soul. The next one's in January. So get on the wait list. And in the meantime, if you're looking for a good book study for Advent, you can purchase the book study bundle and download that. It comes with an e-reader. If you don't like the e-reader, you can go get a Kindle or a book off of Amazon. They will not let us put that in the book study program. Amazon's kind of funny about that. But we do have an e-reader. So it's $10, and it's like you get book studies and everything you would ever need for a parish group, including advertisements and things like that. So go on over there, see what we have. And Lisa, thank you so much. It's been so great. And I will see you in the next coaching call.
All right. Thank you so much, Beth. I appreciate all the time. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. God bless. If you are interested in learning more about spiritual fasting and permanent weight loss, then come join my course, Delay and Pray, a guided course for weight loss through spiritual fasting. You won't go through it alone either. I will be there to coach you every step of the way. This is a group coaching program where you are part of an amazing community of like-minded Catholics who have the same goal as you, to bring about miracles while losing that weight permanently through spiritual fasting. Your purchase includes an online course detailing what spiritual fasting is, how to do it, and all the tools you need to get you the results you're longing for. Head over to my website right now at thecatholicfastingcoach.com and get the details on how to join. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and LinkedIn to always get the latest daily information to help you keep fasting, my friends. Can't wait to see you in there. May God bless you and keep you always.